Why do you look like a Gora? Like, why did I say it's a Gora Sikh?
I was Christian a long time ago, yeah. I heard stories about it my entire life, and I always wanted to go and experience the Punjab that she spoke about.
Why and how and when, like, did you turn back to Sikhi?
I said, how can I say that Guru Granth Sahib is wrong if I've never read it? So my whole life, I always had a plan to investigate the Guru Granth Sahib.
Kind of same way with the Christianity that we see in Punjab these days.
Right.
Like if you see the priest and, padris here, they would make some videos like, okay, the letters A, F, G, H, you'll get a car tomorrow.
Right.
Like these kind of, tricks.
Yeah, I think it was mainly that she felt in order to be a proper Sikh, you had to do so much discipline, right? She definitely felt that Sikhs are more disciplined than Christians. Both our cultures, they don't cut their hair. So when I had my son, my firstborn son, I did not cut it. The number one problem in the world. So my first thought when I saw her in my dream is that she'll be upset at me. Maybe I shouldn't go up to her. But I said, no, just go.
Differentiate in between those two things, like spirituality and religion, is because you had a chance, or at least you put an effort to read Bible and Guru Granth Sahib.
Right, you mentioned Guru Nanak Dev Ji, how the concept of God is different. But in fact, it's not. That's what all the religions teach. Is God is formless, God is shapeless, God cannot die, God cannot hate. That's what I love about the Hindu spirit.
Yeah.
Right. The Hindu mentality is exactly that. I came across this. I was at this point in my life where I needed this, and I met my teacher, and he gave me what I needed. Sikhi, it's not a numbers game. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. So if you have a good Sikh teacher, they're going, like if you're being taught in Gurmat, it's really about the quality. And my experience of Sikhi, my experience of Christianity and every other religion is that Sikhi is at the height, is the apex of a huge blessing.
As you read Guru Granth Sahib, like we have concept of Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata Tart Mata, but like the region where these lines were said, do you feel like the people are like far away from this concept? Like they don't care about the Pani, they don't care about the mitti or the air quality.
But I wouldn't say that that's the reason that everyone is no longer able to have milk.
Even in Gurbani, they call it Amrit.
Right.
In some...
Right. It is, because the cow has certain enzymes that no other creature does. So to have milk from a cow is Amrit.
Controversial or sensational in your thumbnail, and if the main content doesn't have it doesn't have potential.
So that's why I said it should have controversy that is real.
Yep.
Right, that when they click on it, they will learn more, they'll be satisfied.
Then it should provide some value.
Yeah.
If it's not valuable, then
right,
it doesn't matter. Like even if they click, then they're gonna dislike it.
Yeah.
Or they're just gonna close it. So then the algorithm kind of sees that everybody's clicking on it, but they're not watching it, so it doesn't recommend. So that's why if you trust your content, then you can do all that.
Yeah.
That's like icing on the cake. Kind of stuff. So how long you been living here in Punjab?
I've been living here for 6 years.
6 years?
Yeah. 6 साल हो गए.
6 साल हो गए. Okay, speak Punjabi as much as you can.
I will try.
ठीक है. मैं पंजाबी पूछूंगा, ठीक है? I'll ask you as much. Like family बारे थोड़े मनते आप honestly मैंने proper पता नहीं था. So why do you look like a Gora? Like why did I say it's a Gora Sikh?
Probably because of my accent. I sound like
that's
a Gora,
one thing,
right?
Yeah.
And I don't speak Punjabi with a good accent. Only when I'm very comfortable, will it come out. If I'm doing part, maybe. But other than that, I sound like a Gora. I've lived a life like a Gora.
You were a Christian.
I was Christian a long time ago, yeah.
So you were born in California, right?
I was born in Toronto.
Oh, you were born in Toronto?
Yeah,
okay.
Downtown Toronto is where I grew up. And then I went to California when I was a preteen, 11, 12 years old. And then I moved back and forth. But for my adult life, I stayed in California. and I lived in Santa Barbara, and I did wellness, holistic wellness. I'm a Vad Hakim.
Ved.
Yes.
Ved Hakim. Aren't these like two different things? Ved and Hakim?
They can be, or they can be the same thing, but they technically, have different meanings. But I think both meanings apply to me. So I'm self-titled Vad Hakim.
Proclaimed.
Yes.
So it's I think hikmat. Hakim is like if somebody has knowledge of hikmat, right?
Right. So like
It's more of like from Muslim part of the world.
And Hakim is a judge. They know about the law, so that does have a lot to do with religion, right? Especially in Islamic society, it's one and the same. And for me, there's no difference.
No, that's
the
law. I think the law is that's not Hakim hogi hunda yaar jehda apne Maulvi.
Maulvi.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying it's a magistrate. A magistrate and a judge is different.
Yeah.
I'm saying that you have the experience and the knowledge to discern between two things, between what is right, what is wrong in a certain scenario.
You were born in Toronto and then you came to US.
Yes.
What about your family? Like,
so So obviously I didn't move by myself. Everything in my life has been fueled, pushed by my mother. She's the main force in my life.
Your mother, she's born and brought up in Punjab?
Yeah, so she was born in Punjab and she went to Canada when she was 6.
Okay.
Yeah, so most of her life was in Canada. She came back when she was 16. It was a very meaningful visit. I heard stories about it my entire life. And I always wanted to go and experience the Punjab that she spoke about.
What about your dad?
So my dad comes from Toronto. His home place is Nova Scotia, and my mom remarried when I was young. So he's also my dad, and again, a Canadian family, and come from a family of printers. So my mom and dad did printing. They printed, posters, flyers, business cards, and that's what they did when I was growing up. So some of my best memories is going to trade shows with my mother, and we'd advertise our business. We were trade printers, which meant that we printed for other printers. So we were, if you order business cards from somewhere, but you wanted a certain quality, they would send it to us.
So coming back to, same question. I'll be asking the questions if something personal comes up and you don't want to answer, just simply say that.
Okay.
Don't want to answer.
All right.
Doesn't matter. But I will ask some things out of curiosity.
Okay.
So your biological dad, he's a Canadian.
Yes.
Okay. And then your mom, she moved to Canada at 6.
Yes.
Age 6, right? Okay. The reason why I'm asking is I'm just trying to clear like the story behind, like how did you came to Sikhi. And
in Punjabi culture, family is very important. So
family is very important.
Yeah.
It's just a curiosity, I grew up in a family. My father, he's taken Amrit. My mother's, unhone bhi Amrit shakya hua, and I'm like who trims his beard, and I'm not a proper Singh in the family. So that's what I'm trying to.
So.
Huh?
If you say so.
Yeah, I'm obviously.
Okay.
You have, all this bana and kirpan. You don't trim your beard.
Right.
So obviously.
But does everyone that looks like me, are they all proper Sikhs? How do we know?
No.
Right. Yeah.
That I'll be coming to that too.
Okay.
I'll be asking about that too.
Okay.
I want to know your perspective on this.
Okay.
Okay. So then I saw a video of your Nana ji.
Yes.
Like you posted a video about your Nana. Then how did you got into Christianity? Because your mom is Sikh, your dad,
right,
I guess,
right, yeah.
I assume he was a Christian.
My biological dad, his mother and his grandmother are both Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
And
what does that mean?
So it's a specific sect of Christian.
Okay.
And they only marry other Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, okay.
Right. So when they found out that, my dad and my mom were most likely going to be together, they put a lot of pressure on my mom that she convert and become a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
And they had a number of people study the Bible with her. So, you know, I think at first she was very offended at the idea, because Jehovah's Witnesses believe that they are the only true religion in the world, right? There is no other true religion. So she was very offended by that. And she would ask questions, and they would answer them. And then she would also discuss these answers with her father, my nanaji, right? But over time, I think she really liked, what she liked about it was the organization. It was a very organized society. And if anyone did anything wrong that other people know about, they were disciplined, they were punished, maybe even kicked out. And she really liked that, because growing up in Toronto, she was exposed to, you know, the beginning of the Punjabi diaspora. And I think a lot of the people she saw, she didn't feel were real Sikhs.
What year was it?
You know, like my grandfather came in 1972. And yeah, so when she came at 16,
Like
it
70s and 80s?
It was in the 80s.
80s.
She saw the bullet holes at Harmandir Sahib. Right? So that gives you an idea of the timeline. Yeah. So, you know, I think she didn't like the fact that in other religions people can dress to be holy, right? Like you're saying, oh, I'm a real Sikh just because of my looks.
Yep.
And that's what she didn't like. Yeah. That's one of the things. And then there's other things that made sense to her. Like she saw that most the good things that she understood from Gurbani was actually in the Bible as well. And the Bible is supposedly older than Gurbani. So, you know, that also had her thinking.
So then you kind of, at your early age, you grew up in a family seeing Christianity, right?
Exactly. As far back as I can remember, I was Christian. Although when I was first born, my Nanaji and my Naniji took care of me. My mother was Sikh. And so, you know, it gives you an example of Punjabi culture, right? So
how open we are.
Even though she was newly converted, she didn't have anyone to help her, right? She could only rely on her Sikh parents, right? And they took care of me. And the doctors had left a piece of placenta in her stomach, so she was sick immediately. So they took care of me. My Nanaji did a hukamnama for me, named me Balraj Singh. So that was my first name.
So did you have any Christian name?
Pardon?
Do you have any Christian name?
So then, yeah, when my mom left the hospital, I was born at St. Michael's Hospital. She said the M and the I were burnt out of Michael, and it just said Chael, and she pronounced it Kyle. So she named me Kyal, and I was called Kyle. So,
which is supposed to be Michael.
Yeah, it's a part of the name Michael. Yeah.
Okay. But those two letters were burnt.
Yeah.
Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay. So how, and then you, I saw one of your video, like, I'll Punjabi japa karna.
Okay, ji.
Okay, you remind me, I'll
right.
remind you.
All right.
Okay. Tusi Punjab aaya, I saw your video ke tusi, like, you got in touch with your Nana ji, right? And then thode Nana ji, he kind of taught you things about Sikhi and Ayurveda stuff, right?
Yeah.
Natural stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't call it Ayurveda, but
What does he call?
Just
home remedies?
This is what my father taught me. That's what he would say. This is what my father taught me.
More like a cultural way to heal.
Yeah. But I don't think if you called it Ayurveda, I don't think he would say, no, it's not Ayurveda.
You wouldn't get offended
No.
with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, why and how and when, like, did you turn back to Sikhi?
So first of all, when I was growing up, I was part of a special group within Jehovah's Witnesses. It's called a foreign language group. So which means that we focus on preaching in a foreign language. And because my mother knew Punjabi fluently, we were part of the Punjabi foreign language group. And so we would travel all across California and speak to Punjabi Sikh people about the Bible. So one of the things that made my mom feel like she had to investigate the Bible is the people that were studying with her said, what if the Bible is true and you never bother to read it? You know, doesn't that mean that you're not humble, right? So that she said, okay, you have a point, I should read the Bible. So I always had the same attitude towards Guru Granth Sahib. I said, how can I say that Guru Granth Sahib is wrong if I've never read it? So my whole life, I always had a plan to investigate the Guru Granth Sahib. Also, she had great respect for her father, who's a Granthi. She felt that he was a real Sikh. And if everyone was like him, then Sikhi would be wonderful, right? But the reason she sided with Jehovah's Witnesses is because she truly felt, and she partially has a point, that if everyone in the world was a Jehovah's Witness, there would be world peace. So, but she did not feel that if everyone was a Sikh, there would be world peace.
Well, she didn't feel that if everybody becomes a Sikh, then the world wouldn't be at peace.
Right, because based off of her exposure of Sikhi,
or the type of Sikhs that she has seen around her.
That, yes. I don't think she understood Sikhi in the same way I do now, right? This was all when she was young, right? She was just a young lady.
I guess till then, like, she hasn't read Guru Granth Sahib.
Yeah, like maybe she thought she did because she was around it and she heard her father's kata and things. Maybe she thought she knew so many things about it, but it hadn't really penetrated. She hadn't really
I guess
understood.
it kind of same way with the Christianity that we see in Punjab these days.
Right.
Like if you see the priest and padris here, they would make some videos like, okay, the letters A, F, G, H, you'll get a car tomorrow.
Right.
Like these kind of, tricks.
Yeah.
They play. If somebody sees them, they be like, oh, Christians are just stupid, right?
Right.
After seeing all those things that they do, they'll touch somebody's forehead and people would just start walking, or they start talking and they haven't, they get out of their sickness somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was mainly that she felt in order to be a proper Sikh, you had to do so much discipline, right? She definitely felt that Sikhs are more disciplined than Christians. She would say that all the time. Like Christians complain about reading their Bible every day. They say that is so hard, but like look at what real Sikhs are doing, So I always heard that and appreciated that and wanted to know more. I started to come to an understanding slowly, but basically because my ethnicity is Punjabi on my mom's side and Native Indian on my father's, I reasoned, both our cultures, they don't cut their hair. So when I had my son, my firstborn son, I did not cut his hair. And so that I wasn't exactly Sikh at that point, but I did put the picture of Guru Gobind Singh Ji and Guru Nanak Dev Ji in the room that he was to be born in, because he was born at home. And so I wanted to move towards Sikhi, but not as far as, I wanted to change my religion, more in the fact that I felt that the Gurus are God's people, and I want to be with God's people. So I was trying to get away from religion. In fact, Jehovah's Witnesses teach that religion is the number one problem in the world.
True.
So I didn't like religion. I had thought my whole life that by the time I grow up, I would be in the new world. That this world would have been destroyed by God, and I would be in a new world, a paradise. So I never dreamed that I would have a child in this world. In fact, I didn't want to have a child in this world. I wanted to wait until the new world. But since I had a child, and since I knew that God knew my thinking, I said, well, I'm going to act as if this is the new world now, right? So I'm going to shed religion, and I'm just going to be part of the special people of God, and that's it. And I'm going to try to understand what God wants from me instead of being in a cult where we think everything that God says is only being spoken by these people and is very legalistic. Okay, well, the Watchtower said this, so does that mean I can do this? And then, I didn't want a legal framework.
So you kind of wanted to be more spiritual than religious person.
exactly.
Just wanted to find the truth than
Yeah.
having a kind of a following or being a part of a group.
Right. Because I would go to the meetings at the Kingdom Hall. That's what the church is called. It's called the Kingdom Hall. And for the last few years, I couldn't stay awake. And I would even try going to earlier meetings on different days. And I said something was wrong. Like, after maybe 3 or 4 years, I said, this must be God. Because I cannot stay awake no matter what I try to do. So I made the resolution, I will just stay home and I will study the Bible and I will study religion. And I stopped going to meetings. And one time I had a dream. It was with one of the ladies who studied the Bible with my mother. She was a missionary, an Anglo-Indian missionary. She had been from India, born and raised. And I saw her and I was in the New World. Everything was like a paradise. And I said, wow, I'm here. And I saw her and I went over to her. I said, do you remember me? And she said, of course I do, my son. I love you. And so I'm not trying to make anyone believe that I saw a vision, but what I'm trying to do is say that the love she showed me in that moment, I had not experienced before.
So,
because
what did you exactly like?
Because I thought that because I was not going to the Kingdom Hall anymore, anyone who is a Jehovah's Witness would be upset at me. So my first thought when I saw her in my dream is that she'll be upset at me. Maybe I shouldn't go up to her. But I said, no, just go. And I made myself go up to her. And then her acceptance for me was like a proof from God that I was on the right track. So after I had that dream, then I was full-heartedly going straight to just being a spiritual person. Trying to take responsibility for my own actions, trying to investigate all my thoughts, go over all my thoughts, all my beliefs. Why do I think this? Why do I believe that? And that really started my path. And many times along that path, I intersected with the Guruji, with Sikhi. And I saw that built into Sikhi was everything I had just already discovered. And more. So naturally, my curiosity continued to build to discover what is in Guru Granth Sahib.
So I guess the reason why you were able to differentiate in between those two things, like spirituality and religion, is because you had a chance, or at least you put an effort to read Bible and Guru Granth Sahib.
Yes.
If you wouldn't have done that, then I guess you would have felt safer in being part of a group. That kind of give you validation. Oh, yeah, you are.
If I wouldn't have done that, so I left a little part of the story out. There was a part where I was kicked out. I was expelled, disfellowship from Jehovah's Witnesses, and this was a political matter. It didn't have much to do with anything that I actually did, and so that actually broke my faith for a while, because growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, I thought I was like a Jedi.
Would you like to share what exactly happened?
So let me just explain. I thought I was part of this organization that had God's spirit. And every other organization is misled. But we are led by God.
That's how every religion thinks.
But I don't know. I was very involved as a child. Very involved. That was my family. I was more closer to the elders in the organization than I was to my own family. So I thought, like, essentially we are like the Jedis, So
the
then
purest people on the planet.
Pardon?
The purest people on the planet.
Yeah, and the people that can solve and fix anything. It is our job to go and save people.
Isn't that how every religion thinks?
And no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because, like some religions do, some people, maybe the people that I think of the most would be Muslims, because they are the most quickest to say, have you read Quran? You should be Muslim, right?
And if you haven't read Quran, then you...
And I understand them, because I feel when they say that to me, I think they're doing this out of love. They want me to experience what they're experiencing, which was the same feeling for me. When I went to people to share the Bible with them, I was doing it out of love. I wanted them to know that God loves them, that they don't have to go to this priest, they don't have to go to this church. All they have to do is just connect with God directly. And, you know, this is where the cult mindset comes in, because I'm preaching just connect with God directly, but I wasn't actually doing that. You know, the cults, it's kind of...
Yeah, the cult is, I guess, the saying that my truth is the ultimate truth.
Right.
Like, if I know it, that means this is the only truth.
Right. So
my God is the only God.
Yeah.
Isn't that's where the problem starts, I guess? With all the religion, even
you know,
even with
I
the
think
Muslims.
the problem starts with not being humble. Like, as soon as you think you know everything, then how can you learn more?
Exactly.
Right? So I think it is good to know, to get to the point where you think you know the truth. And then you have to apply it. You have to live according to it. But then if you shut out any kind of knowledge or wisdom and you don't know how to weigh it, that's the thing. If you were to say something to me, I would see beard, turban, and I would not listen. But why don't I have the logic to truly think about it?
Process it.
To process it. Why is that not happening? It's because I'm not humble. I immediately I think, oh, he's on the wrong path.
Because I cut my beard.
No, because at that time I thought people with beard and turban that they are misled, not because beard or turban is wrong, but just because they think they need it in order to be holy. So I thought that is an offense against Jesus, right? Because you don't need any look to be holy. You just need Jesus' sacrifice. You just need to know that God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten son, and that you just have to accept the path of Jesus, which for a Jehovah's Witness is going and preaching the truth. That is the path of Jesus. So I thought all the other Christians who are not preaching, who are not going door to door, who are not sharing the message, that how can they be true Christians?
Yeah, I think that's a problem with the religions that started in Jerusalem or in that area. They kind of feel that they are the ultimate. They know the ultimate word of the God. They don't want to listen to any other ideas or any other type of God. Like you with Christianity, they think Jesus is the only God, right? They don't accept any other, or they're not even open to listen to any other concept of. Like Guru Nanak Dev Ji's concept is totally different. It doesn't have a shape. It doesn't have a form. It doesn't, take birth. It doesn't die. That kind of stuff.
Because Abraham came out of a world of idolatry, right? So he came out of this world where everyone thought they were worshiping God, but they were not. But yet they had a civilization. So Abraham came from an advanced city. And so he took this leap of faith and he went out into the wilderness and he just camped out with his wife, until they were 100 years old. And it's just that narrative is like, wow, the whole world can be in falsehood and you might not even know it unless the grace of God comes to you, right? So I think partially is a fear to ever lose that grace of God, right? And also you think it is possible that everyone else can be blind. So once God brings that light to you, you have to hold on to it. So I think that is, at the root of what we call Abrahamic religions, which is why they don't, because they immediately think that, oh, you are the idolaters. I'm the one that got out of you, right? But the problem is when you let someone else define what is idolatry, right? Is it really just, oh, I made a statue and I bow down to it? Is that really the definition of idolatry? Well, if that's idolatry,
that's
what about
most of the Sikhs think?
Right. Most people in general, that's what Muslims say, right? Muslims will even say that Sikhs are idolatrous because they bow down to a holy book.
Yeah.
But is that really idolatry? What about you have this certain concept of Jesus or Muhammad, right? And you think that is the real Jesus. You think that you know the real Jesus. And you are doing things based off of your interpretation of what Jesus is. And you might be doing bad things. Well, that's also idolatry, is right? Because you have built this image in your mind and you have put it on the altar and you have said, this is the truth, nothing else. Right? So I think the problem is people need to go over all these concepts again and really look through the eyes of spirituality. Right? You mentioned Guru Nanak Dev Ji, how the concept of God is different. But in fact, it's not. That's what all the religions teach, is God is formless, God is shapeless, God cannot die, God cannot hate. But the problem is we get lost in language. In the
translations.
In the Bible, it does say God hates this. And so we think that is the same hate that is being talked about, nirpao, nirver, right? But it's actually not the same meaning. Right?
It's more like dislike.
Right? Like, first we have to understand what God is to us. Like in the Hebrew scriptures, Abraham knew God by the name El Shaddai. And Shad, the root word of Shaddai is Shad. And that means to be a milk giver. Or that also means stream that keeps giving. Right? So it was a very maternal feeling about God. And it was just that God wanted to nourish us, right? So if we go to something else, right, if our mother is giving us the best organic juice and we go and have some Sunny Delight, she might be upset, right? But does that mean that she's not enlightened? Right? So it's just part of the narrative. You have to see these things in context.
The context is missing because it's been like thousands of years.
Right, because we see many people who call themselves Christian and Muslim and stuff, they don't talk about God the way that I just explained of El Shaddai. They don't know about that, right? They are made, somehow they accept the belief that God is purely masculine.
And the other thing is, I think they don't want to figure out, like they just want, it's fight between your and my truth.
Right.
It's like I'm trying to push you to, you believe in my truth and you trying to do the same thing with me. I guess that's, nobody's trying to figure out like, okay, let's sit together and figure out, what the actual truth is.
The pride is that
the pride, the ego.
Root, right?
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of humility. We're not actually wanting to learn. Yeah. Whereas I love that idea of being a Sikh is, that's your religion, is to learn, right? That is a wonderful religion. So I always love that. Just like I like the fact that Jehovah's Witness means to witness Jehovah, right? To witness the sovereign of the universe act on your behalf. I love both those designations, right? And I think when we are being a Sikh and we are learning from Guruji, from Satguru, we are witnessing Guruji make us into a Gurmukh, into a Gursikh.
So, like you have experienced the kind of the purest form of Christianity with Jehovah's Witnesses, right? Because that's more of like a...
Arguably,
right?
But after that, I took interest in almost every Christian denomination. For a while, I went and I visited so many churches and talked to so many people. And I think in every Christian denomination, there's some beauty. I think with every sect, every cult, they focus on something different. Like, so Jehovah's Witnesses focus on preaching. So they win, right? They are the #1 propaganda organization in the world and the oldest. So as far as propagandizing their beliefs, they win, right? Just like in the Sikh Panth, we have like AKJ that focuses on Kirtan. And we maybe have another Samparda or Jata that focuses on being a warrior. So I think the different various Christian religions, they all have a different focus, something that's good. But one thing that made me lose any kind of reactive feeling towards these religions is understanding that none of them are what they were originally designed to be. So how can I judge them? How can I judge Catholicism? Catholicism is not what it was designed to be. It does not have the structure. It does not have the support that it was originally intended to have, right?
And also,
It is a broken system, and so has almost every other religion been broken.
yeah, and also isn't it more of a personal thing, like how you find it, like how do you figure it out, how do you understand those things? Because the same words can have a totally different meaning for you,
Right.
depending on your experiences and the type of life you had before.
Absolutely. That's what I love about the Hindu spirit,
Yeah,
right? The Hindu mentality is exactly that. Oh, I came across this. I was at this point in my life where I needed this, and I met my teacher, and he gave me what I needed. And I appreciate my teacher. I appreciate that they are an extension of God. And so I follow them. And essentially, I think that almost every religion needs to, in a way, become more Hindu in that kind of mentality. Because within the world of Hindu is almost every single ideology, is every single religion.
pretty open.
But it's just the way that they approach it. First, you have to have roots to your family. You have to be able to respect and honor your mother and father. How can you call yourself religious if you're not doing that?
Yeah,
Then you choose a path, or you grow up with a path. But if you choose a different path than your parents, it's later on in life, and there's a good reason for it.
more like a finding your calling
Yeah,
type of thing.
exactly. And I think that's an excellent approach to spirituality.
How do you look at the Christianity in Punjab these days? The type of stuff they doing.
You know what? I really wish, before you asked me that I would have talked to more Christians in Punjab. I am in a part of Punjab where
Do you
there's-
watch it on social media? Like,
Yeah, but you
the
know
type of
what?
propaganda
I
going
don't form hardly any opinions based off the media that I see. Yeah. I would really need to talk to them. I would really need to understand, what is their favorite scripture? What is their favorite song? What do, I would really need to ask them before just judging, oh, you're just a Christian because you're stupid.
No, not in that.
Or just because you fell under this trick of this other person. But I think that definitely is possible. And I think many pastors, many preachers, even if they're not aware of it, they know a lot about psychology. They know how to find a person's weak spot. And for them, it's okay, by hook or by crook, how they get them in the fold. If they really believe that they are right, it's okay if that person is not really a real Christian. It's okay if they're not actually reading the Bible. If they just come and, it's going to be best for them, right? Whereas Sikhi, it's not a numbers game. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. So if you have a good Sikh teacher, they're going, like if you're being taught in Gurmat, it's really about the quality. So it's not, oh, how fast, let's quickly do this ritual so you can call yourself a Sikh now. It's a slow progression.
But the reason why it's a concern these days is we live in a democratic world, and the numbers kind of do matter.
Yeah.
So if you have, let's say, 60% of Christians in Punjab, then obviously to perform your rituals, the Sikh rituals in Punjab would be kind of, tough for people. It's going to be...
Maybe. Personally, this is my thought, okay? And this has partially to do with the way I was raised. I was raised, when I was a Jehovah's Witness, when I was 5, 6 years old, I was raised with people who were in their 90s and who had been a Jehovah's Witness for their whole life and who had experienced things like the Holocaust, okay? And so they told me at one point, there's going to be hardly anyone who serves God. Even most of these Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be wrong.
True.
And there's just going to be very, very few people who really serve God. They used to tell me that. And so you can't get involved in politics. You can't get involved in all these things because that will take you away. And so I think seeing religion through the eyes of politics, oh, no, we're not going to be a majority in Punjab anymore, and they're going to take this. While, yes, that's true, and yes, that can be concerning, it also destroys faith. Because really, we come from a faith of people who just 40 sings, fought off how many lakhs,
Yeah.
right? And so really the power that we have as Sardar, the power that we have as accepting Guru Nanak Dev Ji to Guru Gobind Singh Ji as Satguru gives us so much power that is untapped, right? Like, personally, I think there will be better Sikhs when the number is fewer, because they will really be able to see the fruits of what they're doing.
True.
Right? And I don't see why Christians have to hate Sikhs or any other, if you're really living your life, right? Is Sikhi just about putting the pot on the speakers, right?
I mean, that's in a way.
But,
I mean, that's
but
what
what
it is.
about before there was speakers,
Yeah.
right? People actually had to come
True.
and be there with the Sangat,
Mm-hmm.
right? Isn't that more, so again, I'm not saying that these things
No, I
should happen.
totally agree with you. I mean,
I'm not saying these things should happen. Personally, the way I feel is I don't think, I would love to hope that all these people are genuine Christians. But I think sometimes it's just a matter of social, what works better for me socially.
more of a social acceptance and the goals or the targets that they have
Right.
to achieve.
So eventually that's going to fall apart
Yeah, that's true.
if it's not built on faith. And my experience of Sikhi, my experience of Christianity and every other religion is that Sikhi is at the height, is the apex of all religion. So if some people need to go through Christianity to then be able to appreciate Guru Nanak Dev Ji, then so be it, right? Because the real Christians amongst them, when they have children, they'll be raised thinking that they're a Christian, and they will say, okay, well, the Bible says this, why are they not doing this? And they will see the hypocrisy, right? And then they will go on searching. And if there are just fewer people that are calling themselves Sikh, and it's the real ones, I think they will be attracted to them.
So what you're trying to say is, like, if somebody's looking for gyan or seeking for gyan, then eventually they're going to find it.
Yeah, exactly.
It could be in Bible or in Guru Granth Sahib. If they want to find it, like
I think it's going to lead to Guru Granth Sahib.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I think there's a cap to, yes, there is gyan in the Bible, right? There's the eternal gyan in the Bible and through Jesus Christ. But there is not the teaching of lifestyle, of maryada.
Or it's been corrupted over the years.
No, but even if you get it without corrupted, right?
Okay.
I can show someone how I study the Bible, and it's very easy to study it without it being corrupted. But it does not teach you exactly how to live, right? It does not give us that maryada, that rahat, that Sikhi gives us. And that is so powerful, right? So that gives us actually the ability to function with God's Holy Spirit, to function as an anointed person, someone who has been called, someone who has been chosen, and then they actually have the power to fulfill their calling, to fulfill their duty.
She said it doesn't give you maryada to live. The Bible doesn't. So does it talk about like cutting your hair or keeping them? Because Jesus, I guess he never cut his hair, right?
Well, we don't know for certain, but probably not. And
that's what I guess
there is a part of the
right?
Bible where there is maryada, right? I don't know if it can actually be called maryada, but anyways, it's a law, right? It's the Mosaic law. But the Christian idea is that when you get to know Christ, you should give up that law.
What about the commandments? Aren't those kind of maryada?
So that wouldn't be maryada, because it's just saying don't kill, don't commit adultery, don't steal, right? But there was other parts in the Bible where it says, okay, wash like this and, live like this. And so maybe that could be considered. But most Christians don't consider that, part of their value. And then on the alternative, it would be Jews who follow that law.
Yeah.
So if you follow the law properly, then you're a good Jew. But it doesn't have anything about heart condition. Why are you following that law? Is it really out of love for God and for your fellow man?
You're just following because somebody said it.
Or is it because for success, or is it for, yeah, you want, you're part of a famous family who has many generations, and so you don't want to give that up. Like, so we need to have the heart condition along with the maryada. And it's the same thing with Sikhi. If you say, oh, just because I wake up at 3 a.m. and, I wear 2.5 meter kachara and, I do this and this.
Wear the mala and have a 10-foot kirpan.
Yeah, then no. It's what is driving you to do that. If you're really seeking a connection,
what's the goal behind it?
With Satguru, right? So all these religions, they could have had what we call Sikhs in them. People who were truly thirsty, people who really wanted to connect with Satguru and that they were guided, right? But why would God bring them to some other path when we have the new songs here in Guru Granth Sahib, right? The Bible says that. It says the elect will sing a new song, right? And many parts of the Bible say that you should praise God and sing songs all the time, right? So how do we do that? No one knows how Hebrew was pronounced, right? Modern Hebrew was kind of put together in the late 1800s. We don't know how these words were really pronounced. There was no vowels. Now we have Gurmukhi that gives us all the vowels, that tells us exactly how to pronounce these things. And just by singing these songs, we can become a vessel for the spirit of Satguru, right? That is so powerful. And the messages of Bani are playing inside of us subconsciously all the time. Each word is a law of itself. It has, it represents a truth, right? It's not just based off of how do we define it. Any real word, right? What's the difference between me making just a sound, blah, and me saying something real, like truth, right? There, behind the word truth is an actual reality behind it. God has an actual reality. So when we say the Guru's words, there is an actual reality that's opening up in our soul, that's bringing us into the kingdom of God, where we are always reciting God's holy name, where we have peace inside of us and outside of us. That is the meaning of Jerusalem. Yerushalayim, Yeru means double, above and below, inside and outside, and Shalem is peace. So peace inside and out means that you are in the holy city. Guru Granth Sahib is giving us the way to do that.
So basically, it's not a numbers game. It's if you want if you're really interested in finding the truth, then you will find it, regardless, right?
Yeah.
Regardless,
if you continue to have humility, then why wouldn't Satguru give you the dress of a Kalpurik, the same dress that the Gurus came in, give you the same roop? That is what God wants, and that is what our soul wants. So, yes, we would continue going until we become sick.
Obviously, I mean, you wouldn't judge people by their looks. Now you're living in Punjab and you see people like me who are born into a Sikh family and not kind of on the path to Sikhi or the religious path. Like, how do you look at them? How do you look at me? What do you think?
I'm just so thankful that I wasn't raised as a Sikh, because I would have been the same,
Then you wouldn't find the value in...
I just am so thankful, by God's wisdom, that somehow I was not raised as a Sikh, and that all this came to me through grace. It didn't come to me through my own wisdom, because I've made so many mistakes, and there's so many times that I did not see the real value of something. But that being said, yes, maybe you've lost out on a closer relationship with the Guru, but it doesn't mean that there's not more time, right? And doesn't mean that there's not an appointed time, a time that God has ordained that you will come to him. So, you know, I don't have any judgment about it.
Have you heard the phrase "Ghar da jogi jogada, baharla jogi siddh"? Means like your family doctor is like nothing, and then if somebody comes from outside, then you kind of give them more respect.
Yeah, I don't.
Even for the same thing.
If I heard that phrase, I didn't understand it.
Yeah. So it might be like, because I kind of grew up in a Sikh family, so seeing all that gyan knowledge around me, that doesn't excite me.
Yeah, well, you know what? I used to hope the same thing as a Jehovah's Witness. I used to so many times wish that I was not raised as a Jehovah's Witness, that I would have been allowed to go and have all my fun. I used to be kind of jealous of the people who would come later in life, in their 30s and 40s, and become a Jehovah's Witness. I said, oh, you got to go and have all your fun, you know. But partially I felt like, okay, on the flip side, I did feel more loved. I did feel more blessed that God had chose me from a young age to be in his organization. So I think even if you don't meet the standard that you obviously have for yourself, who knows how much you actually did retain, you actually did learn from being in a Gur Sikh family. I think that having Gur Sikh parents or grandparents or even great-grandparents is a huge blessing, right? And which is why we are driven to become that, because we know it's not just about ourselves. If it's just about ourselves, then maybe it doesn't matter how we look, right? But Babaji wants to manifest here. He wants to guide his children. And so eventually we're going to become that. We're going to guide our children with the knowledge of Babaji, right? So I think that's why it's so important, is because if we don't have any discerning qualities about us, anything that makes us different, and we just look the same, act the same, then how do our children know the difference between right and wrong? Then it can slowly, creep up on them. It can happen in a Sikh organization as well, but I think it's less likely. And
the other thing you were talking about, like I judge you from your bana, the way you dressed up, right? Do you think in Punjab, especially in Sikhi, like people are more about the way they look than working on themselves inside, internally, like how they actually do things? They're more concerned about let's wear a bana and get the social approval and acceptance in the public, and from inside they still do the bad deeds, bad stuff.
I think everyone is like that. It's not just Sikhs, but I think that since the 90s in media, it's become better and better, more cool and cool to have a turban on, to have a beard. And so it's a way for them to kind of keep their heritage, to say, oh yeah, I do come from a Gur Sikh family, or I come from a Jat family, and we're very proud. And so you want to keep the source of your pride. So I think every people do that, but not in every culture is that pride associated with a religious look, which means that Guru is holding us to a higher standard, because when we put on a turban and have a beard, we are representing God. There is a higher standard than for other people.
But do you think, like, people I've seen people who are like used to bad stuff or kind of gangster type of stuff, and then all of a sudden they just start wearing the mala and chola. That kind of gives them social legitimacy, and they would be like, okay, मैं सिंह साज गया हूं and I'm a good person. All of a sudden it kind of gives them social approval. In my opinion, like, it should be the secondary thing. First you work on yourself from inside, and then automatically you it kind of shows, manifests outside.
Yeah. I think that's what baptism means, and that reality is in every religion, is you have to, your crown has to be submerged in the light, in the water of God, in spirituality. And then that brings you in to that tradition. So definitely it should be the way first that we have the knowledge, that we can completely dedicate ourselves to Guru. We will make a dedication, a promise in our heart that we will always follow the Guru. And then we put on the Guru's clothes, the bana.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can't really say, I can't judge people, but what I can say is that no lie or no deceit can happen without consequence. So if those people are deceiving, it's not so important that other people have to be so worried about it. Because if you have faith in God, you will know that you cannot offend the truth without consequence.
Do you also drive here?
Drive? No.
No? You don't drive because you don't have a license, or
No,
just
no.
don't?
My mother put a restriction on me driving.
Why? You're not a good driver?
I think I'm a very good driver.
You're not as good as Punjabis?
No, I think I'm better. I think
How?
I have a lot more compassion and wisdom than many of the drivers.
But you don't need compassion here. You need more of like a kind of pushy.
I know both. I know both sides. But, you know, the thing is there was 3 years in a row where I was hit by a car outside. So one time I was parked and it came behind me and it smashed the car behind me and that car smashed into me. Another time I was riding and a car came and sideswiped me and pushed me into oncoming traffic. And another time I was parked at a red light and a car came and hit me. And then she took me to a pundit later, and that was the first thing the pundit said, is don't let him drive.
Why? You never
So
asked him?
I guess maybe there was a time in my life or something, and so she just basically said, I don't want to lose my son, don't drive. And me knowing that it's going to worry her, decided, okay, I will let God's wisdom shine through this. Now, after those accidents, I saw a pattern happening. It was the same year, every year in winter. So I said, you know what, I need to get out of this city. I need to go somewhere else. My life got much better when I did that. And I continued on driving like 250,000 miles I put on my car after that without any incident.
In India?
In America.
Oh, that's in America. Okay.
Yeah, in America. So
But what about the accidents?
Pardon?
Accidents.
They were all in California.
Oh, they're in California. Okay.
Yeah, in the same city.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you never had any accident in Punjab?
We were actually hit by a car in Punjab as well. It was a near fatal car crash.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a miracle that we survived. Or I should say it was God's grace or God's protection. After those car accidents, I was at a point where I couldn't even lift my arm up anymore to the steering wheel without so much pain. I had both my shoulders were dislocated from different types of accidents. And I was in California. I'm Canadian, so I did not have any health insurance in America. And basically, I was in a situation where it was cheaper for me to go learn physical therapy and kinesiology than it would be for me to go get treatment. So I went and I did that. And then that put me, the institute that I chose, which is the Czech Institute, CHEK, run by Paul Czech, he makes direct links between the posture, the body, kinesiology, and your health, your mind, all these other things. So that put me into that whole world where, I was very preoccupied with longevity, with meditation, with all mind-body wellness. So I had many teachers after that. It's kind of amazing. I feel like I was very much led by Guruji to each of those teachers, and they taught me something, and I got to have real practical experience with people and see them get better, see what helps. For a while with my mother, I ran a raw food cafe, and I got to see countless people.
In Fresno?
Yeah.
Well, what's the name? Fresno what?
So the name of the raw food cafe was Revive Cafe.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got to see so many people get better from changing their diet to organic and raw and juicing. And I also saw some downsides to that. And so that made me want to know more, like, what is the right way to eat, what is the right way to exercise. Slowly, I feel like I learned more and more knowledge to the point that if someone came to me with any kind of problem, physical problem, or, any kind of sickness, not any kind of sickness, but where I could look at someone's symptoms and understand why do they have this symptom? What is the root of this symptom? Mm-hmm. And so through the Czech Institute, there's kind of an order that you go by and you assess all the vital processes, mm-hmm. right? So breathing is super important. If you're not breathing properly, then how can you expect any other thing to go right? Right? So yes, maybe you have cancer or diabetes or whatever it is, inability to digest food. Mm-hmm. But if you're not breathing right, then that's the first thing we should address.
More like a holistic approach.
Yeah, it is a holistic approach. Mm-hmm. So I was a holistic practitioner. Mm-hmm. And slowly I picked up more and more modalities. For a while, I ran a supplement company for mm-hmm. a doctor. Now he has a company called Alpha Vedic. Mm-hmm. He taught me so many things that would have given me the right to call myself a Vad, right? And then with Hakim, there's a direct connection between kinesiology mm-hmm. and truth. So kinesiology is more or less the biomechanics of your body, how your body responds to things, how it acts. And there's a direct connection between how you're able to stand, sit, speak, mm-hmm. and your own truth, or things that, maybe you're not in integrity with your own truth, that will cause certain symptoms to manifest.
Is it the same thing? I've heard that they do some kind of testing on you and they'll tell you the foods that are good for your body.
So that's called applied kinesiology,
okay,
which, has muscle testing. I had two mentors that were clinical kinesiologists. Mm-hmm. So basically they had to go to school for chiropractic, take a couple more years to be applied kinesiologists, and then 4 more years mm-hmm. to become a clinical kinesiologist. Mm-hmm. So they did incorporate a lot of muscle testing, but it was much more in-depth than just, hey, hold this vitamins and let's test you and and see. It was much more in-depth than
Does that work? I've seen they'll put things on your stomach or in your hand and then they'll
I don't do any of that. I don't do any of that.
But have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen it.
Does it work?
I don't do it because I don't think that it works. But I think there are ways to tap into the intelligence of the body and to know what it needs. But I think that's too simplistic, right? Because there's a certain amount of presumption involved, right? There's many things you're not testing for, right?
You trusting on one thing. It's same as like allopathic, right? You just
right. Like, let me see if I can think of an example.
Or acupuncture.
If you say, okay, is this iron supplement good for me? Mm-hmm. Yes or no, right? Well, what is good, right? And good for you in relation to what? Good for you in relation to the diet that you're eating right now, or good for you with a different diet, or it
like, not be good today.
There's so many questions that you would have to understand. That I think that's too simplistic, too reductionist of an approach to make such serious decisions. To me, taking a supplement like an iron supplement or a calcium supplement is a very serious decision. It should not be taken lightly. So you have to really understand how your body is metabolizing macronutrients. First, you have to know the body. You have to learn how to listen to the body. After you have a meal, how do you know if that meal was truly nutritious? How do you know in that meal, did you have too much fat, too much protein? There are ways of listening to the body and seeing where you are at. So that's the first thing.
But can't somebody else listen to the body for you?
Maybe, but they would have to go based off information that you tell them, right? Yes, maybe there are some modalities where they can kind of assess that, or, maybe if they're doing some kind of live blood analysis or something like that, or urine analysis, or, but those things get pretty costly.
Holistic medicine, it's pretty famous these days in the US,
Yeah.
at least on the social media, I
Right.
would say. But then you came to India, and how do you how do you see the medical system, Ayurveda or Hikmat or that kind of ancient stuff here?
Like, first, I'll just address that holistic medicine is famous in America. You know, yes, it is. There are some people doing it right. But the way that most people are approaching it, I wouldn't call it holistic. I think what is truly holistic is found in Punjabi culture, is found in Sikh culture, is you have to have fields nearby. You have to have food, fresh food accessible, right? I don't think a holistic life can really be lived in a world of institutions where everyone's kind of
Cannot be
institutionalized
on a big scale.
and you're disconnected from your food. I don't think that is holistic. So maybe they think it's holistic because they're paying $20 for
Extra money
some fruit,
for the label.
you know, but I don't think that is really holistic. So here, I think the medical, we shouldn't call them medical systems, but the systems for health that have been developed here in India are based off of that kind of society structure. That first, you know, the basics need to be kept, right? It would have been a no-brainer for any practitioner of the modalities you talked about that they should eat organic. If you ask any of them, especially before, they would say, of course, why would you put this chemical? Like, of course, it's going to put your body out of balance. And how do we really know what's going to put it back into balance? So first, the main thing is don't get in the body's way of healing itself.
So the good thing is in Punjab, we kind of control the whole supply chain, like from the
Right.
growth of the food, from planting to
Exactly.
You know, and then
Here it could be a truly holistic society, and it could be a model for the entire world to follow.
do you think people are ready for that? I mean, they used to do it, but now
Well, so
this
order
capitalistic
for that-
society, they just want to make more money.
in order for it to work, there has to be small farms. I don't think a big corporate farm that's using AI and robots, like that's better than nothing. But I don't think that can really truly provide a holistic life. So the first thing you have to do is have people who are connected to the earth. So here in Punjab, we still have small farms.
Yeah.
We still have small farmers. Do they want to farm? That's the question. Do they actually want to get out there and farm?
Yeah.
So if they do, then yes, we can do that. But if they just want to have somebody else do all the work and they want to be assured of a certain paycheck because now they've, you know, they've adapted to this lifestyle where they have to have a car and they have to have the gas and they have to,
It's more of
you
a
know,
money-driven.
build their house every year
Yeah.
more and more. And, you know, if they stop doing that, everyone will disrespect them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then if that's the main thing, then no, right? We have to decide, we have to prioritize.
You were also talking about that you were trying to find good milk in your region, like in your city where you live, and that people would give you good milk for a certain time, and then after that they
Right.
start-
So when I was doing Seva as a VAD,
Uh-huh.
you know, sometimes, you know, the Marij would bring some milk for me. And I was so happy to have it. It was very hard for me to find pure milk. So I would start to say, I would like to buy this from you. And then inevitably, 6 months to a year later, it starts to get adulterated.
with water or something else.
Something else, you know, something that immediately the moment I take it into my body, I notice that something is not right.
And do you know they also sometimes they feed some type of different stuff to the cows, and that also makes it.
So that was the case in a number of situations where they started giving the cow feed so that it would produce fattier milk. But the problem with those feeds is all fat is not equal. There's something called trans fat.
Yep.
What is trans fat? It means fat that is not fat anymore. It's been transformed.
Yeah.
So the world of plastic is very big. So if I say that fat is like plastic, well, that's not saying much because so many things are like plastic. But I will just say that the body does not know how to break that down. So it sticks to the outside of our body. That's why some people, before being fat was considered a good thing, right? It meant that you were robust.
Strong,
you had a bunch of, you had a lots of supply of internal humors,
Yeah.
But when you're fat because of trans fat, it's not a good thing. That is a constant energy suck on your system. And that fat becomes harder to lose because you have to have all the nadis, the rivers open for that to get out of your body. And so that takes a knowledge of the body. That's partially what I do.
Kind of drain the energy.
Yeah, to open up the rivers, to make the body, to fortify the body so that it can then push out all that stuff. But then you can't be taking it inside of you as we're helping to push it out. So if immediately I do a therapy on someone and then they go to the Gurdwara and have pakode that was most likely fried in a vegetable oil, right? That's not real vegetables.
That's
That's a GM crop.
Yeah, that's how the whole langar
That is processed. When it's processed, it's a trans fat.
Have you seen pizzas and burgers in langar?
No. But even without that, there's still lots of trans fat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in the regular turka that they of the sabziyan,
Right.
gurdware huniyan jinniyan bhi.
Right.
Because nowadays, like, they'll have a professional chef coming, or the cook coming to the Gurdwara, and they'll make all the langar, and then they serve it to the... It's not simple anymore.
Yeah.
It's not healthy anymore.
Exactly. It should be that if you have good oil, that you should be able to pretty much drink it. I'm not saying drink oil every day, but I'm saying you should be able to drink it.
Just like desi ke.
And yes, exactly. So mustard oil, some people will think that's better, but not all mustard oil is unadulterated, right? Lots of our mustard oil is adulterated. If I take a sip of that mustard oil, immediately I will not feel good. I'll have sinus issues for the rest of the day. But if I have some pure mustard oil, I'll feel fine.
As you read Guru Granth Sahib, like, we have concept of Pavan Guru, Pani Pita, Mata Tart Mata, but like the region where these lines were said, do you feel like the people are like far away from this concept? Like, they don't care about the pani, they don't care about the mitti or the air quality?
No, I don't feel that.
You don't feel that?
I think if I felt that, I would have left. When I was seeing people often, regularly, every day, and I would talk about these things, they would say, yes, I know, that's right. And yes, this is the right way to do things. Also, in Punjab, like abroad in Santa Barbara, my clients were millionaires, maybe even billionaires.
Yeah.
And so I got to see the different types of bodies there are, from someone who's very poor to someone who's rich. I can tell you that most people here, especially Sikhs, landowning Sikhs, have a millionaire's body. Their bones are so dense, right? They have so much resilience. They can have such a big problem, but yet they're still sitting down and doing sukhmani twice a day. Right?
That's true.
So there is resilience here. There is a certain kind of power here. And the lifestyle that we have, like, if you went to most of those people, maybe they don't grow organic. But if you said you're not allowed to grow your own food anymore, there would definitely be an uprising.
Oh, yeah.
So they definitely value growing their own food. They definitely value having their own milk. I think what it is lacking the structure to be able to make that all organic. Because to live this lifestyle, you need so much support, right? If you're really going to farm properly, if you're really going to feed your cows properly, you need so much support. And how do you get your son, your nephew, all the people that are in your house to understand that and appreciate it when their mind is somewhere else, right? So they really need support. I think if there was the support, if there was the knowledge, and especially if there was to make money off of it, right, so that they can be supported for the extra time that it's taking, then it would happen. No, I don't think they're apathetic to health. I think here...
So the problem is that they kind of know that they wouldn't be making enough money out of if they grow, let's say, organic.
Yeah, or they just can't. Like, if you take the average woman here in Punjab, right, she's already doing so many things. Plus, she's already made a commitment to her community. She's already made a commitment to God. How does she have time to go organic? Right? It would take the young person in the house, and it would take the young person in the house to come and say, okay, this is what I want to do. And maybe the parents might not be happy. They might say, like, I was just talking to an organic good farmer from Thad and Thad, and he came to visit me a couple days ago. He said his family was against them going organic. For 3 years, they lost money.
Yep.
But now they're happy, right? His wife was the one that said, no, I don't want to be part of it. If you guys put pesticides here, I don't want to be part of that. That's bad karam.
Yeah.
So he had a wise wife, and that made such a big difference on the whole family. So it takes the young people to say, look, this is the direction we're going. Many of the decisions I made, even though my mom is the one who introduced me to organic, it was difficult for my mother to understand many of the decisions that I made, right?
Because it takes time. It takes like 3-4 years for it to turn fully organic.
Well, yes, but those were decisions she made as well. But I'm talking about, like, it would cost me $1,000 a month just in dairy for my son, not even just for me. I would buy him $30 worth of yogurt every 2 days.
California? Back in
Yeah. You know, I would pay like $14 to $20 a gallon for milk, right? So, of course, she would think, like, this is a waste.
Raw milk?
Yeah. For raw milk.
Yeah, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
In Ohio, we do herd share, and it cost me about like $10 or $11 a gallon.
So she would say, why don't you just buy their regular organic milk and make your own yogurt? And I'm buying the special sheep milk and all this other stuff, right? But I think after a while, she saw, like, this is what I'm doing with my own money. This is the way I'm willing to work. Like, I have the type of job where I can make $1,000 a day. I can go down to LA and just make endless money. But yet I come back to Santa Barbara. I spend time with my son. That's what's most important to me.
Yeah.
So when my mother got to see that that is what's most important to me, that even with my own money, I'm willing to do that, then she was willing to support me doing that here in Punjab. So I think for a while the young people really have to have that desire,
that type of mindset to do actual good. And we did another podcast. We posted it like a couple of days ago, and in that podcast I talked about the pasteurization and homogenization of milk, and I told them, hey, I don't buy that milk because it's like a dead milk. There's nothing in that milk, and you can't even make yogurt out of it. And I buy raw milk, and people, especially from Punjab, they would start commenting on it, like, oh, you don't know the science, the homogenization is good, the pasteurization is good, blah, blah, and all that kind of stuff. So I guess the mindset isn't there. They don't have the seriousness to do these things. They just want, like, quick buck.
Yeah, I'll just say, like, I am a fan of raw milk. My whole life I was lactose intolerant. I didn't start drinking milk till I was in my 20s, and it was because of raw milk. It had the extra lactate enzyme that I needed. But that being said, Indian sciences have been saying to boil milk for a very long time. It's not just since Mr. Pasteur in the early 1900s.
But boiling and the pasteurization is like two different processes. People kind of confuse it together.
So that's
when
what I
you
wanted.
boil it slowly,
yeah.
that's a different thing. And when you shock it for a second, and even if you take it to like 65 degrees or 80 degrees, it's still a shock.
That's what I wanted to clear up is the reason they were pasteurizing it was to make it more shelf stable.
Exactly. And
Right.
so they can transport it and it doesn't go bad.
For consumerism. But
Yeah.
if you're heating it, boiling it for some other reason,
Mm-hmm.
the main thing is that the milk should not be adulterated.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I was trying to explain people, but they were like going against me. They were like, "Oh, you guys just sit on the camera and you think you're a scientist and all that." And they're like, "Oh, you can die with the raw milk." I was like, "I've been drinking raw milk for since my childhood, and I'm still alive, and I don't have any problem. I can digest it properly." And other question is like, if the West thinks the pasteurization or homogenization is that good, then why like 80% of people in the West, they cannot drink milk?
Right.
Then why couldn't they, start drinking milk? And now they're promoting oats milk. Now they're promoting almond milk, banana milk, all that kind of another propaganda.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put that all on that is pasteurized, because pasteurization's been around for a long time, and those people could drink milk. I would put it that it's being adulterated, just like when we have adulterated wheat for too long, then we become allergic to wheat.
Yeah.
Even if it's organic, even if it's good.
All the hormones
so
that
really
they've been
it's
injecting.
what's being put into the milk, the quality of the milk, which is the main issue.
Yeah.
Yes, I do think on a longevity perspective, certain raw milk where the quality is very well looked after can be very good for you. It's like a medicine.
Yes.
But I wouldn't say that that's the reason that everyone is no longer able to have milk.
Even in Gurbani, they call it Amrit.
Right.
In some...
Right. It is because the cow has certain enzymes that no other creature does. So to have milk from a cow is Amrit.
Yeah. You are now trying to build a organic movement here in Punjab, or you...
Yeah, I'm trying to raise awareness to it.
Yeah, awareness about it.
And try to understand how many organic farmers are there actually, how much demand is there, can we do something?
There are some good organic farmers here. And I guess once we put this out, and I hope more people reach out to you. And
Yeah,
kinda
please
team up.
contact me if you're organic. Right now, I'm building a database. So I want to get anyone who's doing organic or trying to do organic. I want to kind of certify according to the way that I think. So instead of following what is the consumer, what is the standards right now for large corporations, I want to just do it the way a real Sardarji would, and just kind of think about it just from our own sensibilities. And if people don't disagree with that, that's up to them. But basically, I think this kind of line between organic and non-organic, there's too harsh of a line. There should be some more steps. People should be recognized for what they're actually trying to do and that transition, right? And even though you cannot certify something as organic, it's still much better than something else that's
But how would you do it on a big scale? I mean, wouldn't you be getting into the same trap? Like big corporations, then you have to have a certain, days of shelf life.
Well, ultimately, it's
and
about
all that.
educating people. Ultimately, it's about educating people so that they have their own sensibility, their own way of understanding it, right?
They have their own independent businesses and their own regions.
Then there doesn't need to be that. It really should be that we're eating and drinking from people that we trust.
True.
So we shouldn't trust things just because of a label, just because of a title. We should really be able to know, is this person actually a Hakim? What questions can I ask him, or what can I ask him to do to decide, is he really a Hakim? Right? We have to get to that point at some point, because yes, maybe initially when these doctors were licensed and given degrees, most of them were all very good. But it's no longer that case now.
No.
People have kind of hacked the
Salesman.
system. Yeah.
They're now just selling drugs for the pharmaceutical company.
Yeah. Now there's so many doctors, because actually like almost half of my clients were in the medical industry. And I know firsthand how thirsty they are for real information on health.
You mean the big companies?
No, I mean people who are licensed in the medical industry. It doesn't mean that they know about health in general, right? they might know the specialties, but that doesn't help them even in their own health many times.
Do you listen to Barbara O'Neill
No,
from Australia?
I don't know.
She's kind of a holistic doctor,
okay.
but she's been banned, I guess. She was banned because of talking against all this COVID and stuff.
Mm.
She's more of like natural stuff, remedies and, you know, castor oil, these kind of home remedies that like my grandmother used to do or say things.
Right.
But now when somebody from West or with the white skin says the same things, we kind of buy it.
Right.
Have you seen that?
Yeah,
That's kind of complex.
But you know what people should look at is lots of these people in the West. Maybe they're having raw milk. Maybe they're having like the best nuts and everything. But look at them. How do they really look? I think we as Punjabis, we really have a real standard as to what is health. You know, even my health is getting better despite the pollution in Punjab. My health is getting better. I'm getting more flesh on my cheeks. There's certain things like we need a robust body. We need something that's built like a tree to be healthy. I don't think a lot of the people that claim to be health professionals and maybe they're doing everything organic and everything. To me, they're still not healthy.
But Punjabis think they think totally opposite. They think that Americans or let's say Canadians or Western people, they are more strong, big build, healthier than us.
Yeah, in some ways, like comparatively, because they have their food is more nutritionally dense. There's additives that make it more nutritionally dense. But in other ways, it's not. So basically,
they're not like that resilient, I guess.
Exactly.
They are put into
if you need your bag of goji berries in order to be healthy, then you're not healthy. Right? So that's the state that a lot of people are in the West. What really matters, whether you do, you know, natural fixers, castor oil, or whether you go get a pharmaceutical, what really matters is that you know how to discern what is healthy for you based off of experience. The Latin word for experience is the same as for experiment. So unfortunately, the truth is we're all ignorant. Even the people with the biggest specialties, they do know more than us. So we should go learn from them. But we're all ignorant. And so at some point, we have to find what is the method for learning? What is the method for arriving to truth? And we can't make a blanket sweeping statements, oh, only do natural or only do this. I think, you know, because technology, pharmaceuticals can be very helpful, right? But it's really about the consumer. How are they coming to that decision to buy things? If they're doing it because of the marketing, if they're doing it because of the labeling, if Barbara O'Neill told them to buy it, it's still not going to help them, right?
True.
Because if they truly understand what is this castor oil doing for me, then they will value it, they will treasure it, they will continue to do it. But if they're doing it, just because Barbara O'Neill said to do it, then something else will come. They'll forget about it, right?
Or they'll just overdo it, like with the flaxseed and those kind of things. They'll put it in smoothie every day. They're eating flaxseed like 3-4 times a day, and they're overdoing it.
Right. So that's the thing that people have to understand is many of this organic movement is being weaponized.
It's kind of propaganda for kind of marketing for something for smaller period of time, and they just sell it too much. And if we see it here, it's been here for like ages.
Right. Like I was in the superfood business.
Yeah.
I was running a whole food supplement company. So I went to the trade shows where I would meet with the producers and the brokers of superfoods. And very quickly I saw that most of the things that we're calling superfoods are just weeds. But there's been at least $50 million put into it for research. So once you put that kind of money into research, then you can call anything a superfood.
Exactly.
Right? Because $50 million worth of research will show you that God made it for a reason. Right? But essentially, if we learn to value the weeds around us, like there's castor grows like a weed,
Yeah.
right? So if someone develops a relationship with castor oil, but then they go start making it, well, there you go. You've arrived much closer to health, right? Now that you're actually a producer, you're thinking different than a regular consumer.
You start spraying
Now
it,
your
protecting
mind
it,
is
yeah.
now your mind is open. You're open to maybe different recipes, different plants.
So I guess it's more of the commercialization of stuff.
There you go. That's exactly it. Is when our resources are being stolen and sold back to us.
Rebranded and
It's
then
always
sell
going
it
to
back
be a
to us.
problem.
Same with yoga.
Right. Well, sure. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Same with yoga.
I went to one of the store over there in the US, and they had like turmeric shots. They were like this big, about $7 or $8 each. And
$7
yeah,
each?
$7 each.
Just
It was
turmeric?
a
Are you
health
sure?
food, health food. Yeah, turmeric. What other? A little bit of ginger, and some nimbu,
Really?
lemon. Yeah.
Wow.
Just those three things for like $7 or $8.
Yikes.
And I picked it up. I was like, man, we haldi, like we eat it every day.
Right.
It's in all our sabji.
Yeah.
And the lady there, she was like, oh, this is a turmeric shot. This is kind of boost your immune system and all this. I was like, you wouldn't believe how much turmeric I eat every day.
Yeah.
Like that's the main, like the baseline of our food. Like,
Exactly.
you know, all the foods that'll have turmeric in it.
Right.
So yeah,
So which shows that we should be making it organic.
exactly.
You should be getting turmeric from someone you know and trust.
Yeah.
The person who gives you turmeric, you should remember them every time a good event happens in your life. You should go take them good organic sweets. You should love them so much. That's really the relationship we need to have.
That's right. So let's do you have something else that you want to cover?
No, my mind is clear right now. I'm just engaged with you.
How did you feel about the podcast? How was it?
I think you've kept me very occupied, my mind very occupied, and I think that's good. I hope.
Do you have any message for Punjabis or for Sikhs, like local Sikhs, or like international Sikhs like you or him?
Okay, for local Sikhs, if they're watching this, I would say become a leader in your community and treat people like you're a leader. And regardless of what background they have, it doesn't mean you need to coddle people. It doesn't mean you need to act like a politician. But you need to care about everyone's well-being. And you need to be the leader in showing that you're capable of well-being.
Like a responsible leader, not like a boss type of
Exactly, like someone who's taken responsibility for themselves. So no, it doesn't have to be, when I say well-being, I'm not saying you have to become exactly like me. There's many things I didn't do that I would have loved to do, right? I would have loved to become a lawyer. I would have loved to become a doctor, an engineer, or whatever else. Like, all those things are open. But just do it in the way that you're really working towards a betterment of society. And really, I don't see how it's possible to do that without being healthy yourself first. So that should be the first step, is become truly healthy yourself. Start to look at the different things that are happening in your body as signs, as a way that your body is communicating with you. Right? Don't ignore them. Find a solution.
All right. Thank you so much, Balraj, for your time.
Thank you, sir.
If you get enough time, then we'll get together again.
All right.